We're going to begin by first hearing from Emryn.
Hello, old and new friends of Ashtar Theater and Palestine. I would like to thank you all for being with us on this call. I am Emryn, co-founder of Ashtar Theater, creator of the Gaza Monologues. When we did the Gaza Monologues back in 2010, we thought that that would be the first and last war on our people in Gaza. But alas, it did not work out. Therefore, there was another war, and another, and another, and it continued on and on and on for the last 17 years. At the moment, with all that you have seen in the media and all that you have done in your countries, in your cities, still nothing on the ground is being changed. We, as a small company in Palestine, we're trying to keep the voice of the people of Palestine and of the people of Gaza heard. And therefore, we are calling upon you that these monologues, they do not only go into your hearts and minds, but that these monologues will become a paveway for a real change, a real pressure on your governments to take action that will bring justice and long-lasting solution for a sovereign state for Palestine, that the world will all agree to have and will all recognize the state of Palestine. Because through peace and with peace, we can all live as regular people. Thank you. Thank you for being with us on this call. And we are all together to save our humanity.
Calling Up Justice is producing the Gaza Monologues in the spirit of cross-movement solidarity, ensemble, and abolition. Through cross-movement solidarity, we create a united front. And this isn't just about cross-movement solidarity, because disabled artists and organizers understand that we share the struggles of the Palestinian people. In Gaza, the Israeli bombardment and blockades are creating a mass disabling event, whether it be by forced displacement, surviving continuous air raids, having loved ones and entire families murdered and missing, and so much more. The colossal rates of individual and collective trauma create all types of disabilities, ranging from mobility, psychiatric, sensory, chronic illness, and so much more. Due to the Israeli government's destruction of Gaza, including constant attacks to critical hospitals and medical centers, all disabled people, including those newly disabled who survive, have limited to no access to needed life-saving and life-sustaining care. This is a direct quote from the CRIP call to action. That language I just said to you was written by a disabled Jewish person who is here for the cause. This is only possible because of all of us coming together. Emryn collaborated with Calling Up Justice. Emryn is the executive director of Ashtar Theater in Palestine, Ramallah, Palestine. And they collaborated with us in 2021 for our Black Lives Matter Every 28 Hours Plays project, where we were reflecting on a play that was about Palestinian activists coming to Ferguson to help us fight racial injustice where we are. The Gaza Monologues, they were written by Ashtar youth in 2010. After the first war in the Gaza Strip. Since October 2010, more than 2,000 youth from around the globe in more than 80 cities in 40 countries have presented the monologues that are translated and presented into 18 languages. And we are among many different productions producing this reading on the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. This is a collaborative performance that is embracing the idea of diversity and ensemble by having multiple people embrace and embody one person. So this is collaborative, and this was also rapid response. This process was about immediate encounter and working within the constraints of capitalism and crip time. So our colleagues had an hour, and they were given the monologues. They were given the monologues in the last hour, and they staged them in real time. We do this in the spirit of abolition. And I'm quoting from Cripping Abolition right now, the Cripping Abolition website. Abolition is not limited to ending spaces and practices of incarceration and policing. Fundamentally, abolition is about reimagining new ways of life, such that a world in which prisons, policing, and other carceral systems as solutions to social problems become unthinkable. Abolition is not just about creating new responses to crises, but creating a new world in which we thrive, such that less crises happen in the first place. What we are doing right now is an exercise in radical empathy, and is an exercise in abolition.
When I was 5 years old, we went to Tiberias one day. It was a very beautiful city, like a paradise. As we were going home on the bus, someone called the driver and told him not to take Jerusalem Road because Sharon had entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Only then I realized that Tiberias is not ours. I'm in the Rimal school near the Ministry of Passports, which was first hit by the war. All the ministry flew into the school. All the girls started crying, except me. I was laughing. Until today, I don't know why I was laughing. When I went home and turned the TV on, I saw all the buildings around our school destroyed, with corpses lying next to each other. I saw our school, but I didn't see myself on TV. And I thanked God. I hope there won't come a day when I'm on TV, because we don't get anything from it except death. After the war, I started knowing what people are thinking, even before they speak, and feeling from the look in their eyes what they want. I also started knowing things that I or someone of my age should not know. I became braver and started knowing how to speak properly, and my trust in people grew. Turns out the war had benefits. Would anyone believe that? After the war, I'm stronger and going to the future with more confident steps. Heba Daoud, born 1995, The Harbor.
Biam El Dieri, born 1997, as Sabra. Image description: photo of bombed out cinder block built buildings and bulldozed Barcelona Park.
What I loved most in Gaza is the Barcelona Park. I used to go there 3 times a week. I would spend a whole day on the swings, laughing and playing with my friends. But during the war, the occupation bulldozed it and destroyed it. I went to visit the place and started crying. I remembered where I used to play and where the swings were and my laughter with my friends.
I want to be a lawyer so I can defend the people that have been victimized. And you won't find more of them than in the Empire of Gaza, because I feel that Gaza is 100 countries and 1.5 million presidents.
The tanks got to our house at 5 a.m. Mom started gathering things from the house, and everything turned upside down in a few seconds. Everyone started yelling and carrying what they could, and we went out running into the streets, not knowing where to go.
My grandmother said you can only go to the schools. And oh, schools, our school is more beautiful than all schools. 100 of us used to sleep in one class. From the first night, I got into a fight with another girl about 1/4 of a meter and who was going to sleep in it. And I don't know how we slept, on top of each other, like a mountain of old, discarded, forgotten clothes.
3 days later, we went back to the house and the neighborhood, but a lot of things had changed. The neighborhood wasn't the same, and the people weren't the same either. The biggest change in me is that I became a gossip. Honestly, I can't hold my tongue. Our theater trainer told me that this is normal in Gaza. All Gazas are gossips about each other. But the difference between me and the people in Gaza is that they don't admit that they are gossiping, while I admit in my full mental capacities that I am a gossip.
Sometimes I find no one to gossip about, so I gossip about myself. Yasmin Jarur, born 1996, Al-Daraj. Illustration is an idyllic photo postcard illustration of far-reaching rows of oranges in Palestine, of orange groves in Palestine.
Our future in Gaza is obscure and unknown, like a calm volcano that can erupt at any second. As if we're on a boat without a captain in the midst of a raging sea. We go right and left, and no one knows where to lead.
I hear that in other countries, childhood is sacred, and children live their lives without problems and fear. But Gaza's children are forgotten and outside the picture. They're the ones who feel the injustice the most because society treats them like they're not kids. When it wants, it makes them adults. And when it wants, it returns them to being children. And most people deal with them like they're only bodies, not minds. When I see a child pedaling in the street or working in a shop, I imagine how the children of the world are playing, resting, and feeling safe. Honestly, my heart breaks for them, and sometimes I cry.
Gaza has no tenderness and no childhood. A boy is born a man here, and a girl is born a bride.
Dad, before the war, was a lot more tender with me. I wish he would take me in his arms like before. But God help him, he's probably worried too. Because in the war, we lost 5 dunams of land in a second. The field that's 60 years old was hit by a rocket from the Israeli army, which burned all the oranges in it. My father, my brother, and myself could have also died by that rocket because we were so close to the window. If Dad hadn't thrown me on the ground, all the shrapnel would have hit me.
After the war, I visited Rafah crossing and saw the flags of Palestine and Egypt next to each other, yet separated by a wire. I felt the difference between the two flags and that this wire is the border of this big prison that we live in. I felt how stupid and unjust is the world, and I felt like breaking all borders and ending all differences between races and religions so that everyone in the world would be brothers. My dream became to live in a safe country, even in a small village, in a distant island at the end of the world.
Yasmin Abu Amir, born 1996, Al-Shujayyeh. View of a city with clouds of phosphorus falling to the ground. The clouds make the shape of a giant spider walking over the city.
I want to be a specialist in the science of metaphysics, what is behind nature. You know why? Because I think that Gaza itself is behind nature. And I got so much from my presence here in Gaza that I'd like to transfer my skills to others.
The Shujayyeh camp is always the center of events. Each time the occupation wants to invade Gaza, they pass by our house. When the war began, people left their houses thinking that the Shujayyeh would be hit. It's normal in this case to leave our house.
Everyone was calling my dad to convince him to leave the house. My brothers from Algeria, my uncles from the States, my uncles from Ankara. The whole world was begging my dad, and he wouldn't budge, refusing to leave the Shujayyeh. 3 days with my mom, having packed the house stuff, and we've been suspended travel mode. We want to go to my sister's house because it's safer there. After we were exhausted from talking, he agreed and said, "You go, and I'll follow."
How can we go and leave him? My mom was smart. She left bread at home, and you know how dear bread was in the war. As soon as we got to my sister's house, she called him and said, "Salam, we forgot the bread. Bring it for us." And Salam fell into the trap and brought the bread, and we wouldn't let him leave.
The next morning, we woke up to a phosphorus bomb that fumed the street. We all started crying, our tears falling because of the phosphorus. The bomb was easier on us than Dad's taunting. He said, "I told you, let's stay home. It's better for us. There's no place like home." And on it went. What added fuel to the fire is that the mosque and the house next to my sister's house were destroyed in the bombing. And you can imagine what my dad did to us. He wanted to take us back home immediately. No sooner had he finished his words than we were told that the house next to ours in Shujayyeh was bombed and the front of our house ripped off. Then, for the first time, all of us looked at Dad.
We stayed at my sister's place. It became clear to us that wherever we were in Gaza, in the war, we were not safe.
After the war, I started to always dress in a very clean and tidy way so that if I die, I would die a nice death. But it would be the biggest problem if I was hit by a rocket because I'd become 100 pieces and I'd like to die in one piece.
Wow. Gaza and Gaza's dreams. Our dream has become to die a good death and not live a good life.
Yasmin Katbe, born 1996, Ash Sheikh Radwan. Photo is a crowd of hundreds at a fenced-in Gaza crossing.
When the war started, my mom, brothers, and sisters and I were in Russia, which made me always worried about Dad. We wanted to leave Russia and return to Gaza among our family to live the events with them. As soon as the war ended and the crossings were opened, we returned to Gaza. And from then till today, we've been hearing stories of the war. I couldn't sleep in Russia because of my worry about Dad. Before the war, when the mobile was used to ring and it would be from Gaza, we'd be happy and we'd race to answer it. But in the war, every time the mobile rang from Gaza, any number, whether we knew it or not, we'd say, "Dear God," and start looking at each other to see who would answer. After the war, a lot of things changed in me. I started seeing things differently. I began to like the city. Life became more beautiful, and so did I. My friends changed, and I made older and more mature ones. I became very outspoken and brave, even in front of Dad. I could face anyone. Mom and I became friends. A lot of times we stayed up at night and talk about everything. In the future, if I grow up, and in Gaza, it's an achievement to grow up because death is standing at your doorway. I want to be a children's caretaker and defend their rights because I feel that the children of Palestine are born as old people. A kid can be 6 years old and yet supporting a family.
We were only able to pull this off in a very quick turnaround, rapid response because our disability theater community said yes right away. Our theater community said yes right away. HowlRound offered support immediately. The Curiosity Paradox signed up immediately. So just thank you. Thank you to Kiana. Thank you to Jacinia. Thank you to One Free Community. Thank you for your work. And thank you so much to Ghostlight Interpreting for offering ASL support. The choices that you just witnessed, those were the choices of the brilliant human beings who volunteered to join us on a moment's notice to stand up for Palestinian lives. Inside the chat on HowlRound are listed all of the other productions that are taking place across the world. So just know that you are aligned and in collaboration with so many people speaking these truths today. I was so incredibly moved by the creative choices that y'all made. And I really feel like this production embodies the elements of disability justice and the idea that we are all one. We're going to be dropping some next steps, action steps into the chat, and we are wishing you the best. Please keep working for justice. Thank you so much for joining us. This will be a recording on HowlRound, so you can share this recording. You can do watch parties in the future. But thank you for joining us on Wednesday, November 29th, 2023, for International Solidarity with Palestinians. I'm going to invite everybody to turn on their cameras for our final moment as we say goodbye to everyone. So if you want to turn on your cameras, go right ahead. I'm so moved. I did not have a chance to drop all of the links of these amazing human beings. Like, you don't even know how amazing these human beings are. You were all so good. And you all didn't see the chat here where we were just enthusing to each other. So many wows. That's beautiful. That's so moving. I was sitting here, y'all, so much tissues. So many tissues. Goodbye. So everybody away.